You can recognize status symbols when you see them, can't you? It might be a designer label displayed prominently on a bag, or the latest high-tech device, or the flashy car that's parked across multiple spaces in the far end of the parking lot. Whether you buy into these status symbols or turn your nose up at them, you know how to spot them from a mile away. Now, you might think status symbols are a product of our modern consumeristic world, but obsession with status is hardly something new. People have always been compelled to show everyone else just how awesome they are. For example, did you know at one time board games were a status symbol? Having the time to sit down and play a board game meant you were rich enough not to have to spend your life toiling out in the fields. Makes you want to go home and set up Monopoly on your dining room table just for show, doesn't it? Or how about this fancy status symbol? The pineapple. Years ago, having a pineapple in Europe, where pineapples don't grow, meant you were rich enough to afford imported goods. People would buy these things not to eat, but to display at parties. And just in case you couldn't afford one, you could also rent one to keep from embarrassing yourself at your holiday gathering. And we can't forget this modern status symbol, the boombox. How many of you remember when carrying these giant cassette tape players around on your shoulder was the bomb? The bigger the better, right? Looking at it now, it looks so ridiculous. But I guess many years from now, in the future, people will look back on our smartphones and Apple Watches and conspicuously branded clothing and laugh at us too. Well, today we're in week 2 of a 3-week series called Lies We Believe. It's a series about our identity, or rather, it's a series about confronting lies that keep us from recognizing our true identity. Understand, when you find your way back to God and enter into a relationship with Him, God declares that you are His beloved child. That is your true identity. That is your true status. He says to you and me, "You are my child. I love you. I am pleased with you." But we have such a hard time grasping that, don't we? I mean, we have such a hard time living in that truth. Instead, we're susceptible to lies that tell us a different story about our identity. We fall for the performance lie that says, "I am what I do." We fall for the popularity lie that whispers, "I am what others think." And today, we're talking about the possession lie. It's the lie that says, "I am what I have." Our culture measures value by the things we possess. Whether those things are material things or positions of power or the right connections. I mean, what I have can determine how I view myself. Do you ever find yourself feeling better about yourself because you're wearing a new outfit or driving a new car or have center court tickets to the Chicago Bulls? Seriously, if anyone has center court tickets to the Bulls, can we talk later? On the flip side, when you feel bad about yourself, is it because of something you don't have? For instance, ever find yourself thinking, "All my friends have the iPhone 6S, but I'm stuck with this iPhone 5, or "Our family should have our own house or a better house by now," or "I should be making way more money at this stage in my career"? You see, the possession lie is so powerful because it preys on something we all struggle with in one way or another. And that something is dissatisfaction. We feel dissatisfied with who we are, with what we have, with the hand we've been dealt. And here's where we get tripped up. When we're feeling this way, material things present themselves as a quick fix for our dissatisfaction. I mean, they promise a rush to numb our underlying disappointment. They trick us into thinking they will be fulfilling. And so we fall for the possession lie over and over and over again. Understand, there's nothing wrong with treating yourself to things from time to time. I don't believe God is a stingy God. He has given us so many blessings to enjoy, including material things. The problem is when we look to these things to define ourselves, when we look to our possessions to determine how we feel about ourselves. Author Richard Foster describes our modern condition this way. He says, because we lack a divine center, our need for security has led us to an insane attachment to things. We really must understand that the lust for affluence in contemporary society is psychotic. It's psychotic because it has completely lost touch with reality. We crave things we neither need nor enjoy. We buy things we do not want to impress people we do not like. We are made to feel ashamed to wear clothes or drive cars until they are worn out. The mass media have convinced us that to be out of step with fashion is to be out of step with reality. It's time we awaken to the fact that conformity to a sick society is to be sick. It's time to expose the possession lie. Now, throughout this series, we're looking at a story from Luke chapter 4 about Jesus and temptation. If you missed last week, let me catch you up to speed. Jesus is just starting his public ministry. Up until this point in his 30-year-old life, he's lived in relative obscurity. I mean, no one knows who he is. He hasn't accomplished anything worth noting. Jesus' public ministry begins when he is baptized by John in the Jordan River. And as he comes up out of the water, the voice of God declares, "You are my son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased." That is Jesus' true identity. Now, on the heels of his baptism, the Spirit of God leads Jesus into the desert where he fasts for 40 days. And it's in this solitude of this desert place that the devil comes to Jesus and tempts him with lies. The second lie, the possession lie, is found in the second temptation. The devil led him up to a high place and showed him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world, and said to him, "I will give you all their authority and splendor. It has been given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want. If you worship me, it will all be yours." Now put yourself in Jesus' shoes for just a minute. I mean, sometimes we see Jesus as some kind of superhero who's invincible. But when Jesus walked on earth among us, he felt things the way we feel them. He wrestled with things the way we wrestle with them. Hebrews 4:15 says that Jesus is one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are. In the second temptation, the devil leads Jesus to a high place where he can see all the magnificence and riches and power of the earth. And the devil basically says to him, "Look around at what everyone else has. You don't have anything. How can you think you are somebody? You are nobody, but you can be someone. I mean, all of this can be yours." Satan is offering him a quick fix to significance. He's saying, if all of this was yours, you'd really be someone. Now, if I were standing in Jesus' shoes, this possession lie, it would be tempting. I mean, all the kingdoms of the world could be mine. After all, Jesus came to usher in a new kingdom. And here was a quick fix that didn't involve suffering or a cross. So what does Jesus have to do to take this shortcut? Bow down in worship. Here's something that we need to understand about the possession lie. It always involves worship. Let me explain what I mean. A few chapters later in Luke 12, Jesus issues a warning that strikes at the heart of the possession lie. He says this, he says, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." Now, greed is an ugly word. I've never met a person that sees greed as a desirable trait. And my guess is none of us see ourselves as a greedy person. But Jesus says, watch out, be on your guard, because greed is sneaky. If you're not vigilant against it, it can easily grab hold of your heart. Understand, greed is simply wanting more and more. I mean, that's it. It's an insatiable desire for more. And let's get honest with ourselves for a minute. Don't you want more? I mean, I do. Can I admit that? I want more. I want a bigger TV. I want new clothes. I want a new Fitbit. I want a new iPad. I want a Vespa scooter. And here's the thing. I know that if I go out and acquire those things, I'm going to feel good. I'm going to get that rush that comes from new, shiny possessions, and I'm going to feel happy and fulfilled, at least for a moment. But sooner than later, I'll find myself right back where I started. I'll be wearing my Fitbit while sitting on the couch in my old new clothes, watching the same old shows on my new TV, surfing the same old websites on my new iPad, wondering why I bought a scooter when I live in a place where the weather is crappy 2/3 of the year. You see, Jesus warns us, be on your guard against wanting more and more because life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Understand, Jesus isn't condemning wealth or possessions. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a new TV or a new outfit. The problem comes in when we look to these things to bring us life. When we fool ourselves into thinking that they are the answer, when we chase after them, when we worship wealth and possessions. Now, wait a minute, you might say, I don't worship things. But the truth is, most of us do. Most of us bow before things that are not worthy of honor and can't deliver life's true meaning. We spend money we don't have to acquire things we don't need in order to impress people we don't even like. We look to possessions to fill some emptiness inside of us because somewhere along the way, we subconsciously bought into the lie that I am what I have. And we hope that if we just get enough, we might feel like we are enough. So we make the next new thing our idol, and we bow down to it. We chase after it. We become consumed thinking about it. We'll do just about anything to get it. The possession lie always involves worship. Satan takes Jesus to a high place, overlooking all the riches of the world, and says, look around you at what everyone else has. You don't have anything. How can you think you're someone? You are nobody. But all of this can be yours. All you have to do is bow down and worship. But Jesus doesn't buy into the possession lie. Instead, Jesus answered, it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Jesus says, no. Only my Father gets first place in my life. I'm not buying what you're selling, Satan. I don't need all that stuff to define me. Do you know why Jesus was able to reject the lie and resist the temptation? Because he already knew who he was. He didn't need all the riches of the world to feel secure. He didn't need a quick fix to feel good about himself. He knew he was the Son who the Father loved and with whom the Father was well pleased. His identity was grounded in that. And that was enough. Understand, that's where our identity needs to be grounded too. Remember, God declares of us too, you are my child, I love you, I am pleased with you. You don't have to prove anything to anyone, including yourself. You are not what you have. You are loved and valuable just because you are, because you exist as God's dearly beloved child. So we can stop chasing after possessions. We can stop looking to stuff to fulfill us. We can stop worshiping things. One of my favorite theologians, N.T. Wright, talks about confronting the possession lie this way. He says, at the heart of our resistance to temptation is love and loyalty to the God who has already called us his beloved children in Christ and who holds out before us the calling to follow him in the path which leads to true glory. In that glory lies true happiness, true fulfillment, which neither world nor flesh nor devil can begin to imitate. We worship the Lord our God and serve him only as his dearly beloved children. In fact, nothing is more effective in breaking the possession lie than worship. More specifically, when we worship God through our generosity. You see, the most effective way to break the hold of greed in your life is to give things of value away. Instead of more, it's give, give, give. Instead of measuring ourselves by what we have, it's giving away what we have in order to let our identity as God's beloved son or God's beloved daughter be the truth that defines us. Generosity is worship because it rejects bowing down to things and instead reflects our trust in God. Jesus himself said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." And you know why? Because life, true life, doesn't consist in an abundance of possessions. So here's what we're going to challenge ourselves with today. If you want to break the power of the possession lie in your life, if you want to embrace the truth that I am loved and valuable for who I am, not what I have, we want to challenge you to do one of two things, or maybe both, if you really want to get serious. The first challenge is give a valuable possession away. The only status symbol that matters is that you are a beloved child of God. So maybe you and I need to embrace that today by giving away a valuable possession. I mean, think about the purchases you've made over the last few months. Only you know the answer to this question. But if you get honest with yourself for a minute, did you make some of those purchasing decisions because you were looking for a quick fix for your dissatisfaction? You're never going to find the answer in things. You're never going to find fulfillment in possessions. You know that. So it's time to stop falling for that lie. Take a step to break the possession lie by maybe giving away that new sweater to an organization that collects clothing, or give away that new video game to a kid who can't afford it, or sell that new electronic device and give away the recouped cash to an organization that's feeding the homeless this Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, make a statement to God and to yourself about who you are going to worship by giving a valuable possession away. It is more blessed to give than to receive because life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Or a second challenge, do without something. Make an intentional choice to do without something you really want in order to resist the quick fix temptation. I mean, this is the perfect week to take this challenge, isn't it? I mean, the possession lie will be in full force this Friday, Black Friday. Let's face it, Black Friday is as much about buying stuff for ourselves as it is about buying presents for others, isn't it? I mean, I'm not the only one who looks through all the sales flyers looking for stuff I want, am I? Here's the thing, if you're like me, 30 minutes from now, you could be obsessed with wanting something that you aren't even aware exists right now. I mean, I'm amazed how many times I'm just surfing around online and all of a sudden I'll see something on Amazon that is the greatest thing ever. I mean, 30 minutes ago, I didn't know it existed, but now it's all I can think about. I mean, one click and it can be mine. Anyone else like that? I mean, that's the possession lie whispering, you need this. You'll feel better when you get it. Isn't this exciting? The second challenge is to make the decision to purposefully do without, to reject the possession lie and instead be generous towards God and worship Him. You know, I've known people who have chosen to go on shopping fasts for 1 month, for 3 months, even up to a whole year for this purpose. We can break the power of the possession lie when we resist the temptation of the quick fix by intentionally going without something. Here's the bottom line. You and I, we are not what we have. We are beloved children of God. And our family, our Father, is not known for greed, but for generosity. I mean, generosity is our family trait. There is a powerful lie at work in our culture, a lie that measures status by possessions and whispers to us, you are what you have. Let's stop buying into it. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Life is found in being the beloved children of God. We already possess that. May we come to truly understand that it is enough.